Good evening, everyone. You are on time, so thank you very much. But I am also aware there might be some latecomers, so we'll give them a couple of minutes to come in. However, we are conscious of time. This is a very short, very quick 30-minute webinar. We can't wait too long, and we will start very, very shortly. While we are waiting for our attendees to join us, I am Miss Ong. Some of you are familiar with me. Some of you know me from having either taught your children or teaching your children right now. I'm not only grade 5 teacher, but I am also ICT coach. One of my tasks is to make sure that our staff members are aware of how we can integrate technology into the learning experiences of your children and into our teaching practices. And also make sure that our children are aware of some very important conducts that they should observe as they use the internet. Mr. Todd, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, how you doing, everyone? I am with Michelle, an ICT coach and coordinator. My main focus is a secondary school, but as a whole school, like Michelle and I work together in supporting ICT development and both the students and in the staff and the community.
Thank you, Mr. Todd. All right, so this evening's focus is on e-safety or internet safety and digital citizenship. These are very, very, very broad and big topics, and we're going to try and put everything in a nutshell just to maybe remind ourselves of what they mean and what to be aware of, okay? In this session, we will be looking at what opportunities and threats the internet bring to your children. We're going to look at some of the possible threats or risks that are leading currently, especially in this climate of everyone working online and your children working a lot on the internet. We definitely will look into how your children can be safe online. We are also going to touch on very, very briefly, but again, an important reminder of what it means to be a digital citizen and what footprint they're leaving behind while they're using the internet, while they go surfing the web. Mr. Todd will help me all throughout the session, and he will also introduce how you can keep your children secure online. Okay, just to let you know, I believe you are able to write on chat. If you have any questions, feel free to jot them down. We'll try to address them as they come. Also, there will be a Q&A session and a survey at the end of this session. Why are we doing this now? As a matter of fact, we should be doing this a lot. We should be doing this regularly. And your children are attending assemblies that I run every year together with Safer Internet Day that is observed primarily in the UK, but also spreading around the world. I believe this year 120 countries participated. So it's not a small event. I used to run this as an assembly in the primary school. I have run this also in Alphaville. Unfortunately, this year we are doing it online, but we didn't stop observing the day. And every year there's a theme. And this year your children were looking at the theme trust, okay? How can they explore the internet knowing what to trust and what is reliable or not? So this was the assembly I ran to your children this year. And it was again a quick assembly, but reminding them of what to trust and what not to trust on the internet and how they can decide, okay, can I trust this or not? These were some of the questions they can ask themselves. Make sure you question the reliability of the information, checking online, checking on offline with books, with magazines, which unfortunately don't exist much anymore. And now we don't have access to the library, but definitely ask an adult or two, just to make sure, okay, can we trust this? Can we believe this? Just a bit of a disclaimer, the content of this session was not something that I just thought of and throw together. I did quite a bit of research and checking statistics and facts and information, recommendations, suggestions from experts and specialists, and also some results of studies. At the end of the session, you will also see a list of where you can retrieve information if you need them. Mr. Todd, do you have anything to add at this point?
Just to express that this is not the first time also that we've run this type of a webinar. I mean, we've done it, of course, live before in school. And so this information, we've updated from, Michelle's updated, we've updated from our previous knowledge base and continues to be relevant. And this is very much in line with, as Michelle said, the current theme of Internet Safety Day. And there's quite a variety, obviously, of topics. We're only going to be able to touch on a few of them and cover them to a limit. But we can consider, depending on people's interests, we can go deeper into the topics in the future.
So when I ran the assembly to our younger kids, I told them, obviously everyone uses the internet. I asked them how using the internet is similar to going out on the street, leaving your home and going on the street. And that was a very good analogy, I think, of placing your children in that context of, wait, hang on, if I'm on the street, I cannot be by myself. Okay, so on this slide, we can see I have already presented that, yes, just like going out, there are opportunities and there are threats. And it is, I think, important to be aware that currently 1 out of 3 internet users is a child, and half of young users have encountered some kind of internet risk. There's definitely something we need to acquaint ourselves with, be aware of, and importantly, we know how to prevent that and avoid running the risk of being online. Just very quickly, I'd like you, if you can, just open your chat box, and if you can just write down what you think are the opportunities. It's probably obvious, but what are the opportunities internet bring to your children? It's got someone writing knowledge, entertainment, source of information, being in touch, friends. Yep, the games is probably the currently one of the most popular right now, probably hand in hand with being in touch. Thank you, Ms. Costa. Homeschooling, yeah, right. The opportunities are there. We overlook that they're there, and it's wonderful. We live in this age where information is right at the tip of our fingertips. It's great also that we are in touch with our family, with our friends, despite having to stay at home during COVID times. But the threats are also real. What I want you to jot down in chat now is very quickly write down what threats are you aware of, what risks are you aware of that your children might encounter online. Yep, unsafe content, privacy, yep. Adults pretending to be children, fake news, absolutely. Unsafe, inappropriate content. And I'm just going to carry on as you keep on writing. So we have mentioned, you have already written down the risks or threats that your children face. On the screen are currently the top risks online, okay? So there are predators, there are adults grooming children, there are adults pretending to be children, befriending children for their own objectives. That's definitely harmful to our children. The invasion of privacy, cyberbullying, inappropriate content, file share abuse. File share abuse may not necessarily be a threat per se, but it is illegal, and we need to teach our children, look, if you download music without paying, if you download movies without paying and sharing and sending it, forwarding them to their friends, that is not a practice that we can consider as good citizenship. And also it's a way for viruses and harm that can be transmitted through the computer. Do you have anything to add at this point, Kai?
I will say, that the file share situation may be less prevalent to the student, to the the children of in primary, but it's still possible. And a part of that is, and the legality, as you mentioned, is the fact that it can lead to malware and viruses, and those can be a different type of security threat later on for other reasons. Yeah.
How can we support our children? I've got a shout out there. Talk to them, model to them, and ask them. I've broken this down into 3 different kind of chunks of topics, and the first one is getting yourselves informed. It's easy to access information. It's easy to get acquainted with what is safe or not for our children. We don't condone, we don't really encourage prohibiting use or banning use of certain things, but we do strongly encourage following age restrictions and establishing lifestyle balance at home. Next is communication. So show interest with your children, collaborate, work with them, not against them. The communication channel needs to be open at all times. The last thing we want is a breakdown in trust and transparency. And we definitely want to model critical thinking, helping our children learn how to see what's fake, what's not, what can you trust, what can't you trust. And lastly, be in view. This is you being visible, being accessible to your children. And later on, I will show you a model of what kind of agreement you can have with your family. And I can't stress enough how we need to remind your children about protecting their privacy. Last but not least here, this is not just from me. A lot of experts do feel that parents need to be firm about your decisions at home. Whatever decisions, whatever ground rules you set with your children, you are the parent, you set the tone, okay? So first, being informed. We don't encourage banning, prohibiting. Mr. Todd and I were just discussing how it's easy for us. I am a parent. It's easy for me. Okay, you can't do that. It's just end of the story. Don't argue with me kind of tone. But there is nothing more empowering than giving your children the knowledge of why not. Why can't I use this? Why shouldn't I use this? Just explaining and having that dialogue, that understanding with your children is very, very essential. And Kai, I think I'd like you to tell parents what happens when we take the route of, oh, you can't use this.
Yeah, one of the failures of banning is the fact that it's very difficult to completely keep an eye on your child every single moment of the day. So if you block it or you tell them they can't do something, it's enticing, and you really won't be able to monitor it completely. And it's likely that it's possible, if not likely, that they'll try and access or do the banned activity regardless. And the unfortunate part is that it will be far from your supervision under those circumstances. So banning off doesn't work many times. And it's better to, as Michelle has said, to teach your children to make better decisions and good decisions. And so that they can be part, this activity can be part of the conversation. You can monitor it and be involved in it, as we mentioned before in the last slide. And that will probably provide better outcomes in the end in terms of your children maintaining better habits over time, and even as they grow older. We start teaching them now to make better decisions about what they're doing online, they will grow with it.
Absolutely. One of the skills that we are teaching through IB and PYP is making informed choices, and this skill can be definitely fostered now, giving them the means, the tools, the know-how, the method of how to make choices. Next up is balance. We are very conscious and we are aware, okay, we are staying at home, we are bored out of our skulls, we're tired, and the internet is just such an easy way to distract ourselves. But there is such a thing as technology replacement, and it's only healthy to avoid this. And what cannot be replaced by technology is rest, sleep. I know some of our children are sleeping less nowadays because they're attached to their devices, they're glued to their devices, they're chatting with their friends, they're watching YouTube or playing online games. However, rest is essential. The age group we are working with, they should have 8 to 10 hours of sleep. That should not be replaced by technology. Relationships with each other, with siblings, with grandma, with grandpa, with us parents, I think that needs to be protected and preserved, because well, they're children only now, and when they hit 18 and they're just going to want to leave us, and that's it, right? Exercise, this is a serious problem right now. I have a 14-year-old son. He's physically less active this past year due to COVID. We do try to do exercise from online PE teachers. And I know some of our children are still going to clubs, playing tennis and swimming. Good nutrition, so eating healthy, these are all non-negotiable. We should not allow technology to replace them. Age limit, Mr. Todd, I think this is one of the biggest things with technology use among children, because moms and dads, you will be surprised, none of our children from early years and primary years should be on social media at all. I am currently showing you what was recommended 2 years ago. Mr. Todd automatically said, oh, wait, Vine does not exist anymore. That's how fast things are moving. That's how fast these apps are appearing. Where 2 years ago, it was very popular. Nowadays, now it's gone. But if you look at the age limits and recommendations, children should only go on social media starting 13. That's 2 years above our children's age. The current recommendation is this, okay? So again, it still starts with 13. There are some apps that our children are using that, that should be monitored, or that should have parental consent when they are 13 and above. And WhatsApp is right there. YouTube is right there. TikTok is 13 and up. Instagram is 13 and up. But I know a lot of our children are on these platforms. You are the parents. We're not the police, and we're not telling you, oh, they should get off these platforms. What we certainly encourage for you to do is talk to them, monitor, follow, just make sure they are protecting themselves as best as they can together with you. Okay, show interest. I've mentioned about communication. The earlier you do this, the younger the children, the more transparent you are about internet, the easier. Perhaps the older the children, they've gotten used to going visiting platforms or websites that are probably not recommended for them. But anyway, there's no harm in really opening up that communication channel. You are the parent. The trust should be there. Transparency should be there. And that way you can collaborate, you can work with them, and establish, okay, if this is not safe, or if I'm not old enough for this, then what can we do? What compromise can we reach? That's what I can think of, because definitely I'm not gonna say get them off Instagram or TikTok. What do you say, Mr. Todd?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with the summary, right? You have to get, it goes back to the communication and to teaching them how to make good decisions and developing good habits early on.
Next up is modeling critical thinking. It also feels like, oh, it's obvious when a piece of information is fake or not, but it's not always obvious. We have adults who fall for fake news. In fact, the last 4 years of political trends have been driven by a lot of fake news, and adults believing in this, or misinformation, not necessarily fake, but when you have half of a piece of information, that's not giving you the complete picture. That is some kind of manipulation, isn't it? This poster was introduced to your kids, might be good to remind them, maybe sit down with them. Okay, let's read this piece of news. What do you think? Which part of this is credible or not? How can we find out if it's real or not? So how are children falling for misleading content? Most of your children were really good. When I did this assembly with them, they knew what not to click, and they were very clear when they are clickbaited, or what ads are false, or what's scamming and phishing. As I said earlier, it's just a good way to remind ourselves and our children how to keep themselves safe. Now, this is probably what many of us don't do. Internet is such a revolution that the way it's moving, our lives is just so much faster than we are able to digest and understand. Okay, wait, hang on. We should have done this, or oh, that doesn't feel right. But right now, Common Sense Media, one of the experts on child health, mental health, and internet safety is strongly recommending you to create some kind of agreement with your family. And I'm going to show you an example of what that agreement might look like, and also how you can protect your children's privacy, your privacy, your family's privacy. Your children are actually aware not to share names, addresses, phone numbers, passwords, etc. But I'm also very conscious that some of the children who are on TikTok, they're posting things of themselves. So just be wary, just be aware what that means and where that is leading. So this is from Safer Internet Day website. It's called Family Agreement, and what are the things to consider, how to get started, how you manage your time, online, offline, what to share, what not to share, looking at internet or online content, how you communicate, what to do when things go wrong. These are some considerations. We will share with you this slide so that you can refer to it. Okay, and it's like being at school, because they drafted some kind of template for you to sit down with your children for this agreement. I want to mention digital citizenship. As I said earlier, going online is like going out on the street. When you go out, you don't only make sure you keep yourself safe, we also need to look at how they behave themselves online. And that is what we call digital citizenship, when they act respectfully and responsibly and safely. I really like the phrase, be your best self online. What is your best self? Your best self is how you conduct yourself in real life as well. How you behave yourself, what is your best self, is the same as when you're online. Mr. Todd and I were looking at cyberbullying. Oh, should we include this? This seems like a problem for older children, but I decided to leave this on the current presentation, because ever since children started having access and ability to chat with each other, as long as 10 years ago with instant messaging, and Hangouts, and now with WhatsApp and whatnot, I always have parents coming to me telling me, Miss Ong, so-and-so did this to the other child, or so my child did this to another child through their devices. So it's worth noting, it's worth thinking, reflecting about digital citizenship. What is your best self when you're online, and how you behave, how you treat each other online? The consequences are real. The older the children get, sometimes the more serious the consequences are. And I'm not trying to scare you, obviously, but it's really worth noting. Thinking smart. So one is, what do you post? When you post, what do you need to think about? You need to think about the truthfulness of your information, whether it's helpful, whether it's inspiring, if it's necessary, whether it's kind. Very simple guidance for our children. At the same time, how do you keep yourself safe? You keep yourself safe smartly, by not sharing personal information. This is not true for our kids yet, meeting people for real, but there are channels, there are opportunities for them to meet virtually through online games. I don't know about TikTok, befriending people that they're not familiar with, strangers, accepting messages or requests from people you're not familiar, you don't know, and knowing what to do if you feel threatened. You have to talk about it to somebody older than you. There's a list of tips. This is on the presentation, and you can refer to it when you receive this. Mr. Todd?
So here's a slightly different approach to this issue, which is the security versus the safety. We've been primarily talking about how to teach the students and talk to the students to make good decisions online, to be proactive, and to consider how they're behaving online and what they're doing online. But that is one part of the puzzle of maintaining digital safety and digital citizenship. The other part of the puzzle is being proactive with the technological tools to help make decisions as parents about what students can and can't access. I mean, although we did say, and we have explained, that students really should be taught to make good decisions while they're online, and that is going to be, in the long run, the best outcome, will lead to the best outcomes for them. We still have many, many tools at our disposal, and you have many tools at your disposal as parents to limit where they are traveling online, right? And we're assuming, of course, that being online is a public space and a social space, and just as you would make decisions about where your children, appropriate places for them to go. So there are tools that you can use to make decisions about controlling not only where they go, but how they use devices, how they use the internet. So this is a bit more technical in terms of what is now becoming actually more and more of a responsibility at home, because in the school environment, we have an entire ICT team of professional technologists who are able to create, a protected internet environment for students. Our firewall, our internet safety, our security systems are robust, very professional, top of the line in reality. But at home, students, whether you're talking about your children's devices, their phones or their laptops or their gaming devices, as a parent, you have a lot of ability to make decisions about that and how they use it. Michelle, would you like to jump to the next slide, please? Yeah, I mean, so in this case, the safety, of course, is stop before I download, stop before I click. And why? This goes back to my mentioning even of possible illegal downloading of media. The reality is, students have access to all sorts of media. It's easy to find something online, Google it, see something, oh, there's that song I wanted, and try and download it. But unless they're getting that from appropriate sources, i.e., they're buying via the appropriate internet, online vendors, or even if they're receiving things online, maybe through an email, because their contact information has become spread out to advertising agencies. There's many avenues where malware, where viruses, where hacking can occur via files, and so downloading something at random can be dangerous, right? Dangerous in the sense of the security of the actual device, right? That's going to lead to privacy issues and issues about possible, criminal, hacking attacks, right? Think before I click. It's the same thing. What are you clicking on? What's in that email, right? This is for everyone, not only children, but yourselves. I mean, quite frankly, there's a lot more messages, that are being sent via WhatsApp, via messaging apps, not just email, that themselves are loaded with malware and viruses, right? Which purpose is to try and invade your privacy and steal information. So, understanding the technical safety aspects of how to be online is an important issue. That's something else that we help to support students understand. But you can click to the next one, Michelle. So This is just a partial list that's looking at probably what you may likely have at home. Is that, also we probably listed, like we didn't even update this. I probably should have put the newest Nintendo game system. Right? We didn't include it, but it should be there. But all of these devices and all of these services and others, they often have a parental control feature. A parental control feature that can determine what games they can buy, how long they're on the device, screen time, especially for things like iPads and Macs, or phones. Both laptops, computers, and tablets. And on your own home network, you can have a lot of technical control about sites and things your students can access. If you feel that your child isn't making good decisions, you might want to limit the website access that they have, access to a particular website. So it is at this point in time, because we're so online and because clearly we are going to be dealing with the distance learning environment in one way or another for certainly until the end of this academic year. There's a bit more of responsibility that the home is going to have to take if they're in terms of trying to create a safe environment, right? It's the two-prong of helping students make better decisions, and as parents, having the technological tools and the know-how to control or to limit what they're doing. And these are just some simple links that will be available in these slideshow when we send it out. That'll be available to you. We're available also, myself and the ICT team, to give some advice. But a lot of this stuff is online, right? We'll find all these parental control tutorials are widely available, and it's something that we definitely, I would strongly encourage you to consider more and more, especially because, when students are at school, we have a highly organized, very professional internet security system at the technical level. When at home, it's different, and so this is now something that I think we all have to consider more.
All right, so in this presentation, I've added all the experts and specialists on how to keep your children safe. What Mr. Todd just shared with you is really, really important. And we used to offer this service of installing security on your children's devices at school, but that's clearly not possible at the moment. So we encourage you to try and find out how to do it. And if you have questions, maybe we can, just email one of us and we'll try to help you. Some of these are international organizations, but they are also sources of information should you need help and where to go. I'm sure there's a Brazilian version. And that's it, Mr. Todd. Our emails are there.